In the last lecture, we learned how to pass data from a parent component class to its child component class using custom property binding and at input decorator. Now in this lecture, we are going to learn how to pass data from a child component class to its parent component class using custom event binding and at output decorator. So in this web page, we have a list of products and we also have a filter radio button. So what I want is whenever a user selects this all courses radio button, this web page should display all the courses. But if the user selects free courses radio button, then it should display only the free courses from this course list. And if the user selects premium course radio button, in that case, this web page should only display the premium courses from this course list. Now, this filter component is the child component of this course component. So whenever the selection of this radio button changes, we want to inform the parent component, which in this case is course component, and based on that selection, the course component should display the courses. If the user selects all courses, then the course component should display all the courses. If the user selects free courses, then course component should display only the free courses. And if the user selects premium courses, then the course component should only display the premium courses. Let's see how to do that. But before that, if I refresh the page, you will notice that initially when this page loads, none of these radio buttons have been selected. Now what I want is, initially when the page loads, this all courses radio button should be selected and all the courses should be displayed in the web page. So currently all the courses are being displayed in the web page, but this all courses radio button is not selected. So our first requirement is, initially when the page loads, this all courses radio button should be selected by default. Let's see how to do that. Let's go to VS Code. Let's go to filter component class, and here let's create a property. And let's call it selected radio button value. This is going to be of type string, and initially let's assign it with the value all. So this property is going to keep track of the value of the radio button which the user has selected in the web page. Okay, so if I go to the view template of this filter component, we have 3 radio buttons, and each of these radio buttons has this value attribute. So for the first radio button, the value is all. For the second radio button, the value is available. Let's set it to free. And for the third radio button, the value is not available. Let's set it to premium. Okay, so if the user selects the all courses radio button, then this property should be assigned with the value all. But if the user selects free courses radio button, then this property should be assigned with this value free. And if the user selects premium courses radio button, then this property should be assigned with this value premium. So this value is basically going to keep track of the value of the radio button which the user has selected in the web page. Okay, now let's do two-way data binding with this property. So on each of these radio buttons, let's use two-way data binding. And for two-way data binding, first we use a set of square brackets. Inside that we use a set of parentheses, and then we use ng model directive. And let's bind this ng model with this property. And let's do the same thing for other two radio buttons. Okay, now the initial value of this selected radio button value is all. That means since we are doing two-way data binding, initially when the page loads, this first radio button should be selected by default because it is this radio button whose value is all, right? Now we have also learned that in order to use this ng model directive, we need to import forms module from Angular/forms, and then we also need to specify it here inside the import section. With this, let's save the changes. Let's go to the web page, and you will notice that initially when the page loads, this all courses has been selected. Okay, that's because here we are doing two-way data binding. We are binding this ng model with this selected radio button value. So initial value of the selected radio button value property is all. And that's why this radio button, this first radio button is selected by default when the page initially loads. Now, when we select free courses here, in that case, this property will be assigned with the value free because that's the value we have specified here in the template file for this radio button. And if we select premium courses radio button, in that case, this value will be assigned with the value premium because that's what we have specified here. All right, so that's done. Now let's create our custom event, and we are going to create our custom event in the child component class. And let's call this custom event filter radio button selection changed, and it is going to be of type event emitter. Okay, and in order to use this event emitter, we also need to import it from Angular Core. Okay, it has already been imported here. Let's remove this line. So we need to import it from Angular Core. And then we also need to specify the type of data which this event is going to emit. So this event is going to emit a data of type string. And I will explain you why we are using this string data type here. Now we need to instantiate this event emitter class. For that, let's use new keyword and then event emitter. And we also need to specify the data type. So it is going to emit a data of type string. Okay, so here we are instantiating this event emitter class, and the property name is filter radio button selection changed. So this is going to be our custom event, and to create a property and event we use event emitter class. Okay, so when we have set the type of this property as event emitter, that means this is going to be an event. And we also need to decorate this event with @output decorator. And to use this @output decorator, we need to import it from Angular Core. All right. So to create a custom event, there are two steps involved. First, we create a property and we specify its type as event emitter. Okay, and we also need to instantiate that. And then we also need to decorate it with @output decorator. All right. Now we need to create a method which will raise this event. So let's create that method and let's call it on radio button selection changed. And from within this method, we are simply going to raise this event. And to raise this event, let's first access it. So this dot filter radio button selection changed. And on this, let's call emit method. Okay. Now, whenever this event will be raised, this event will emit some data. And it is going to emit the data of type string. Now, from this event, we want to emit the value of the radio button which the user has selected. And where are we storing that value? We are storing that value inside this selected radio button value property. So inside this, emit method, let's pass this dot selected radio button value. So whenever this event will be raised, this event will emit the value of the radio button which the user has selected in the web page. So if the user has selected all courses, then this event will emit the string all when this event will be raised. If the user has selected free courses, then this event will emit free. And if the user has selected premium courses, in that case, this event will emit a string premium. I hope this makes sense here. All right. Now, in the web page, whenever the selection of the radio button changes, the change event happens. Okay. So what we are going to do is we are going to bind that change event with this method on radio button selection changed. That's because whenever the radio button in the web page changes, whenever the selection of the radio button in the web page changes, we want to raise this custom event. And we are raising this custom event using this method. Okay, so whenever the change event will happen, we will call this method. and this method will raise this custom event. All right, so let's go to filter component and let's bind the change event with the on radio button selection change method. Now for event binding, we have learned that we use parenthesis and inside that we specify the event name. Here the event name is going to be change, and to this change let's bind this method. Let's copy this method name. Let's specify it here, and we need to call this method. For that we can use a set of parentheses like this. Let's do the same thing for other radio buttons. So I'm simply moving it in a different line so that it will be more readable, and let's do the same thing for this one as well. All right, now just to verify if everything is working so far, let's use a console.log statement inside this on radio button selection change method, and let's log the value of this selected radio button value. So whenever the selection of the radio button changes, this selected radio button value should be updated with that radio button value, right? Let's save the changes. Let's go to the web page. Let's open developer console. All right. Now let's click on this free course, and you will notice that free has been logged here. So that means when we selected free courses radio button, this property was assigned with the value free, and that's why it has been logged here in the web page. If I select premium courses, you will notice that premium has been logged here. That means this property has been assigned with the value premium when we selected premium courses. And if I select all, that means, this all has been logged here. So this property is now assigned with the value all. So far everything is working as expected. Let's comment this code here. All right. So in the child component, in the component class, first we created an event. We decorated it with @output decorator. Then we created a method to raise that event. And in the template file of child component, we binded this change event to the method which is responsible for raising our custom event. So far everything is working as expected. Now all that is left right now is to pass the selected radio button value to the parent component. And based on that, the parent component then can decide which courses to display in the web page. So let's go to parent component class now. And here let's create a property. And let's call this course count radio button. It is going to be of type string, and initially let's assign it with the value all. Now this property is also going to keep track of which radio button has been selected in the web page, but this property will keep track of the value of the radio button in the parent component. So in the child component also we have a property which is keeping track of the radio button which is selected in the web page. And in the parent component also we have created a property which will keep track of the radio button which the user has selected in the web page. Now let's create a method which will be called when the custom event of our child component will be raised. And let's call this method onFilter radio button changed. Okay, so we want to call this method whenever our custom event which we have created in our child component will be raised. And we know that that custom event is going to emit some data, and that data is going to be of type string. So for this method, let's specify a parameter. Let's call it data, and we know that this data is going to be of type string. Now inside this method, we are simply going to set the value of this course count radio button, which is keeping track of the selected radio button in the web page. Okay, so let's copy this, and here let's say this dot, the property name is course count radio button, and let's assign it with the value which we will receive inside this data parameter. So inside this data parameter, we will receive all if the user has selected all courses radio button. And we want to assign that value to the course count radio button. If the user selects free course radio button, in that case, this data will receive a value free. And we want to assign that to this property. And if the user selects premium courses, in that case, this data will receive a value premium. And we want to assign that data to this course count radio button. Okay. So these are the two changes which we need to do in parent component class. Now let's go to the view template of this parent component class. And here we are using this filter component. And this filter component has an event. So we are going to bind that custom event. And to bind an event, we use a set of parentheses like this. And what is the name of the event here? It is filter radio button selection changed. So let's bind this custom event. And we want to bind this custom event of the child component class with this onFilter radio button change method of the parent component class. So let's copy this and let's specify it here. Now we have learned that whenever an event is raised, it emits some data, and that data is stored in $event variable. So we are passing that event data to this method, and that data will be received inside this data parameter. Okay. Now just to check we are receiving the data properly, inside this method, let's also write a console.log statement. And here let's log the value of this dot course count radio button. Okay. Let's save the changes. And now remember that we are logging it from the parent component. Okay. In the child component, we have commented that console.log statement. Let's save the changes. Let's go to the web page. Let's clear everything here. And let's select free courses. So you can see free is logged, and this is being logged from the parent component class. That means in the parent component class, for this property, we have received the value. Okay. Then if I select premium course here, you will notice that premium has been logged. That means this property is now assigned with the value premium when we selected the premium courses radio button. So in this way, we are successfully able to pass data from the child component to parent component using custom event binding. If I select all, you will notice that all has been logged here. Now still it is showing all the courses. It is not displaying only the free courses or only the premium courses when we select these radio buttons. So let's implement that part. Okay, so now we are receiving the data from the child component to the parent component. Let's comment this console.log. Let's go to the template file of this course component, and here let's use ngIf directive. Okay, so ngIf. Now remember that this ngIf is a structural directive, and we cannot use two structural directives on the same HTML element. Remember this point. We cannot use two structural directives on the same HTML element. It will throw an error. And to avoid this, we can make use of ng container. Okay. So outside of this div, let's use ng container directive. And let's wrap this div inside ng container. And let's move this ng for from here, from this div, and let's use it on this ng container. Okay. Now inside this double quotes, we have to specify a condition. So here for the condition, let's say we have this course count radio button. So if the course count radio button, if it is equal to all, so that means if the user has selected all courses radio button, in that case this course count radio button will be assigned with this value all. So in that case, all the products will be displayed. Now after this, let's use OR operator. And here let's say if the value of this course count radio button, if it is not equal to all, then we only want to display those products whose type matches the value of this course count radio button. Okay, so we are storing that value inside the type property of this course, right? So here for each iteration we are going to receive that course inside this course variable, and this course variable will have a property called type. Okay, so if user selects all courses radio button, this course count radio button will be assigned with the value all. So all equals to all, this condition will return true and all the courses will be displayed in the web page. But if the user selects, let's say, free courses, in that case, this course count radio button will be assigned with the value free. So this first condition will fail, second condition will be checked. So whichever course has this type property assigned with the value free, that will, in that case, this condition will return true. So those courses will be displayed in the web page. Let's see that. Let's save the changes. Let's go to the web page. So here all courses has been selected. So all the courses are being displayed. Let's select free courses here. And you can see that now only the free courses are being displayed. Let's select premium courses. And here you can see all the premium courses are being displayed. Okay. But if I select all the courses are being displayed. Now here I can see a bug that for the premium courses, for some reason it is displaying 9. Let's see why is that. Let's go to the web page. Let's go to filter component.html. And that's because here all is selected. But here it should be premium. This might be a copy paste mistake. So let's set it. Let's use this premium property here. Let's save the changes. Let's go to the web page. And now it is displaying the correct value. Alright, so if I select free courses, only the free courses are being displayed. If I select premium courses, only the premium courses are being displayed. And if I select all courses, then all the courses should be displayed. So I hope in this lecture, the custom event binding and the use of @output property is clear to you. If you have any questions, then feel free to ask it. Thank you for listening and have a great day.